Hello, everybody. It's Tammy, Rebel Prepper and Brown Thumb Gardener with you here again. You're looking at, there's this little ladybug. There's a guy that does metal sculptures out here in this part of Southern California. Couldn't afford one of his life-size dinosaurs, so my daughter got me this little ladybug. I really like it because I like ladybugs. And this is my lemon tree. Now my lemon tree is getting it ready for the second harvest of the year. And I've got some oranges. Now you would think, that if you judging by what you've seen about California over the years, that you can just throw some seeds in the ground and things will just magically grow. But that is not the case. Anywhere in the state that I can think of, we have a lot of challenges here. And so today I want to talk to you about challenging gardening conditions. I am by no means an expert gardener. I love it, though. It's sort of like being a bartender, right? If you love to make cocktails, you can learn to be proficient at making cocktails. But if you do it for a living, you're just so much better. So those of you who are not professional gardeners can relate to some of this stuff. Those of you who are going to roll your eyes and go, "Oh my God, Tammy, what did you do there?" So let's just talk about, first of all, my conditions where I live. I would say that I'm probably about 45 minutes from Palm Springs, California, and everybody knows Palm Springs, right? The thing is, with Palm Springs, a cool day in summer can be 110, right? So you can imagine being that close that we are semi-arid. This year we did get a lot of rain, thank God. Thank God for that. Glad to see the drought kind of, I wouldn't say it, the drought never ends in California, no matter what they tell you, but I would say that the drought is mitigated somewhat, right, by that rain, and we are thankful for it. But it creates some interesting conditions here that if you're a gardener and you don't love gardening, you might throw in the towel very easily. So today I'm going to tell you about some of the things that I have to overcome here, and some of you can relate to this, right? So I grew up in Texas. And talk about challenging weather. I grew up on the Gulf Coast and, I moved to California when I was young, but I still remember, I moved from Belgium, which also had challenging growing conditions. And I moved, back to Texas and back and forth. And the thing is, that's not neither here nor there probably to you, but what I learned is about climates and microclimates. And in California, we have tons of microclimates, especially in the Bay Area where I spent most of my time here in California. So when I moved to Southern Cal, I thought, oh my gosh, Southern California, land of palm trees, land of lemons by the side of the road, oranges falling from the sky. And all of that is true to a certain extent, but it also makes for very interesting growing conditions because there really aren't any seasons here. It is like hella hot and then less hella hot. And, you don't get a lot of transition. So your plants kind of take a beating. I mean, imagine if you were outside and the sun was just raging on you 1 minute and then 10 minutes later, it's freezing cold. So your body would react the same way these poor plants do. So after letting everything go fallow last year, okay, I gave up. I'm not going to try to sugarcoat it. I had a neighbor that was destroying my plants, so I gave it up, but I'm back in the saddle. So I used my raised bed, of course, and I put as much stuff as I could get into the soil this year. But mainly, one of the biggest methods I use to help me with this bizarre climate is these bags. And I want to talk a little bit about these bags, the growing bags. Now, some of you are going wink, wink, nod, nod. The growing bags are associated with another industry here in California that's also famous. And it's kind of a Cheech and Chong type industry, if you get my meaning there. So yes, these are often used by people who do indoor growing of that particular plant. But they weren't designed for that originally. Gardeners had all this stuff first. So you vegetable gardeners might be familiar with these aero pots. The cloth pots are really great here because when you have cloth pots, there's a lot of good things about them. first of all, they're fairly light to move. I mean, if you had this stuff even in a heavy duty plastic or resin container, or you put it in, God forbid, a pottery thing or whatever, because you thought it looked pretty, oh my gosh, moving that is going to kill you. So these are, I have 10-gallon and 5-gallon, and then I bought this just for kicks. I bought these cute little colored ones that are like 3 gallons and 7 gallons. Those were just to kind of give a little pop of color in the garden. But I bought these off Amazon, and they're really hands down the cheapest containers that you can buy. And the great thing is they do allow for airflow, which makes your roots nice and strong. I love that part about them. My tomatoes really enjoy being in the grow bags. I use a 10-gallon really for microgreens and for growing bigger tomatoes, like the big boys and the hybrids and stuff. They like to have that room to kind of spread out. And so putting these in the bags gives me some advantages, because here it's May, and Mother Nature is hinting around that it's going to be a hot summer by giving us 2 or 3 days in May where it's over 90. And my plants didn't like that, because they're still they're adolescents. Some of them are babies. And they're like, no, we are not ready for heat yet. So I love spinach, and spinach does not love Southern California. You'd think that spinach would grow well here, only in the wintertime though. So I didn't start mine in the winter, and I've got spinach, I've got greens. All of these plants are pretty delicate, and they don't like it when the ambient temperature gets over 80. I find that they start to bolt. We don't want that. But these pots allow me to move my plants into the shade, or onto my patio. If I had to, in extreme weather, when it gets over 100, I could move them inside. Although my husband would probably not like that very much, but it's possible. In other words, I can save them from bolting, because I love my spinach and I love my fresh greens. So that's why I use these aero pots. And what you're seeing is the in-ground stuff. But again, this is a solution. This is also a space-saving and water-saving solution for those of you like myself who have a teeny tiny backyard. You know, I mean, I know people that have smaller than me to work with, so I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, if you have a small space, or you have just a patio or a balcony, these pots are great for that, you know. And, you know, you can use them again and again and again. I have some that I've had for 5 years almost. So those are the good positives about the pots. You can control watering. For example, if your tomato likes a lot of water, but you have other vegetables that aren't so keen on the water, you put them in separate pots, right? And you're able to control how much water you use. I find I use a lot less water than just with this open bed here. Another thing I did a couple of years ago is I planted an almond tree. So those of you who don't know what an almond tree looks like, that's an almond tree. It's kind of weird because it's stubby. I don't know why it's growing like that, but it's a really nice tree, and this is the first year we've had fruit on it. And this, of course, is my little dwarf nectarine. The tree's not dwarf, I found out. You know, I told you I'm a brown thumb gardener. I'm not the most, I'm not the super gardeners that they have. You know, where my husband used to work, they had like just these people that were just manic gardeners. That's not me. I just like it. It gives me pleasure. It gives me relaxation like nothing else. But when I got this tree, it's a dwarf, and I thought the tree was going to be dwarf. No, the tree's probably 15 feet high, but the little fruit are, can you see them? The little fruit there are dwarf. And they are delicious, as all the birds know. This tree is impossible to put netting over. I have netting on the almonds because I have blue jays that just seem to really enjoy destroying stuff. So anyway, this is what I've got going here. The almonds seem to work pretty well. Now, I'm going to show you these, let's see, these grow bags. I was lucky enough to find, I went to the local Walmart garden center and found these all on closeout. They're normally like, I don't know, $10 or $15. and I got them for $2.50. So I bought a bunch of them. I think I bought like 10 of them. And these are like little miniature portable, you see that? Portable greenhouses. Those are great if you want to get started on your garden early. I mean, they hold in the heat. They just protect from cats and other creatures that like to go and do things in your garden. And what I'm using them for right now is I've got these little zucchinis growing in there. It's still kind of cool in the morning here, so I put them in there. But if you can find some of these, I mean, check out the Walmart, your local Walmart at the clearance center, and look, you'll find some good bargains. These are great, and they have little tent stakes. They're very much like a pop-up tent or a hamper. They have stakes that go in the ground that you can use, and you can put your 10 pot. I would say you could probably put up to let's see, I have a 10-gallon in the last one. Let's see how much space it takes up, because it's been a while. There's a 10-gallon pot in here. So I still have a little more space around it. Let's look around. Yeah, so you could probably put a 15-gallon if you wanted to do that. Put your 10-gallon pot, your 5-gallon pot in here. Put your seedlings in here. And this is really, really good. Now, if you live in a windy area, I would recommend putting it next to the shed or somewhere where, like, we have Santa Ana winds here. So I try to keep it out of the really windy area, because those little tent stakes, they will fly right out of the earth when there's a strong wind. So we have that going on. I love these things. And the great thing is, if you don't want to keep them in your yard all the time, they will fold down into their little case. And you can just zip them up and put them away. So that's an idea for you. And I believe you can probably order these online if you can't find them at your Walmart. So that's my little tips today for kind of making the best out of bad situations. We often feel like, as gardeners, really challenged because, if the weather's not getting us, the bugs are getting us. And I'll talk about bugs in some of my solutions, because with all the rain comes all kinds of insects here that I've never seen before. So I've had to go and talk to experts about how to organically and in a very earth-friendly way deal with these bugs. So we'll talk about that in future episodes. But here's the thing. Don't get discouraged if you really like having those fresh vegetables on your table. If you're in a place where the price of things has gone up so much and the store is far away, but you want a fresh salad, you want some tomatoes, you want some berries, don't give up, because even if you have a brown thumb or a gray thumb or, whatever, you can still do this. You just have to learn some techniques to make the best of what you have, soil-wise, weather-wise, whatever, neighbor-wise. And so that's what I do as a brown thumb gardener. I'm not going to tell you that I'm an expert, but I will let you talk with experts. I find them all the time. I find people who grow the biggest tomatoes I've ever seen. So I want to talk to those people and bring it to you. But don't give up on your gardening, because, tough times are ahead. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's true. We've got some challenging times. But having a garden can do so much for you besides just give you fresh fruit and vegetables. It helps your peace of mind. It helps you stay calm when everybody else is falling apart. So don't give up on your gardens, guys and gals, and get your kids involved. If you have kids, my kid is, old and not old, but she's, college age and just not interested. But some of you have little kids, get them started. That's how I started doing this, was my grandmother, my dear departed grandmother. I just loved going to the garden with her. So anyway, this is Tammy DeLu, brown thumb gardening and rebel prepping. Be a rebel. Don't necessarily buy everything everyone's selling. Have a great day.